Hello. Look, we got a little winter theme. Totally unplanned because I didn't delete the picture. I don't know what that would have been. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. Welcome everyone. This is a little cute. It's so Christmassy. We're not scuffed and we're not starting super late. You're scuffed and starting super late. Bye, Light. Ally, thanks for joining in. Anyways, hi Ashisa. This is Ashisa, my fellow co-streamer, back at it again, streaming with me on this lovely season episode 2. If you weren't here for episode 1, go check it out on my YouTube channel. If you were, well, welcome back anyways. If you're back for some reason, I'm so sorry that you decided to come back and torment yourself some more of this, but here we are. Hi, Big Popo.
Him and I both have the same personality of like, oh, you're tormenting yourself by coming here, you know? Like, normal people would just be like, you want to be here, you really do. And we're just like, nah, you really don't.
No, they don't. No, we're straight. See, we keep it real, and that's what people like about us. We'll be very honest with you. Even if you hate us because of it, we're like, nah, you don't want to be here. We don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. And that's why we're like, why are you here? But anyways, we appreciate you showing up anyways. As she said, if you would like to, I don't know, any welcoming back words. I don't know if you're even glad to be back, but we appreciate you being back.
I'm a repeat guest, guys.
You are. So Can you believe it? The first episode you were here, and now you're a repeat episode too.
I'm the fans what they want, right? Yeah. No.
Yep, that's what everyone came here for, I'm sure. It's exactly what everyone came here for. Yeah.
Here you are.
We are here. Don't mind me casually having to pull up the questions that I sent you again, because I forgot. Excuse me, everyone. So last time we talked about how you started on Twitch, talked about Smash quite a lot, and I think that was it because we spent way too much time on both of those topics. And next thing you know, we're gonna have these other 5 more questions. We're gonna only get through 2 or 3 of them, and then we'll have to do an episode 3. So
everybody wants that.
I'll give you the choice. Is there any specific topic you'd like to talk about first? One that you're really itching to get to? Or do you hate them all equally and you're just like, Caesar, choose one for me?
Okay, I'll pick the collab one.
Sure.
For 50.
For 50, okay. All right, we'll start with an easy one. Why do you collab? No, I'm just kidding.
Why? Because it's fun. To have another person talking back at me rather than hey, everybody, I'm just talking at you all, and there's no conversation back, so I enjoy that.
That's true. It's not like a YouTube video where you're just talking to yourself in the void, and you're like, God, I hope this is funny, and I hope someone finds this entertaining, because you're just like, let me crack a joke, and you're like, do I say it again? Because I don't know if the punch landed.
Yeah, even with YouTube, you can get rid of the segments you found that were dumb, that you skip words or whatever, and when you stumble here, you have to pick yourself up and be like, haha, that was a total joke, guys.
And it wasn't, but you just got to keep rolling with the punches. You're like, the power of editing, ta-da, it's gone. Unfortunately, we're live and on air, and we can't fix that. So who was your first collab? Who did you first collaborate with? Was it me?
I wonder.
I'm curious. I didn't know if it actually was me, so that's why I asked.
I think it was.
And why? Why then? Why did you choose me? And why was it Smash?
I think it was you who initiated that one, I think.
Really?
Did you? Or
I'm fairly certain that you're like, we should do co-streams together. And I was like, okay. Was it a tournament or did we just do...
I think it was when I saw this stuff with, was it Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, I want to do something like that. And then you're like, no, let's do Smash instead. Look at, we finally arrived.
We've come full circle. I'm like, God, I've come to a desperate low, and I'm like, God, I need content. Ashisa, your turn. Get in the arena. So it was Smash though, right?
Yeah, it's for Smash, and I don't think it was tournament stuff. I think it was just Sundays, your streams, because you were doing Sunday Smash.
Yes.
So I was like hopping on every other week, but not every week, so you could kind of like have your own spot for Sunday.
Yeah, we were doing it every other Sunday.
Yeah, and then it was like, okay, then we threw in a tournament for one of those every other, or sometimes it was once a month at a certain point, because we were just like, yeah, I don't think twice a month isn't like
tournaments
it's, like,
are too much work. Tournaments for once a month are too much work. I'm like, oh my god, we've had to set all this stuff up, and the hard part is getting everyone to show up. And then once you have all the dates planned and stuff, then you're like, all right, we're doing it this day, and then it comes, and then you're missing like a third of your people, and you're like, lovely, so much for planning all this.
I know, and this time it was actually where I had to DQ 2 people in the last tournament, and that is so strange for me. I do not DQ people because it's like, no, I want to try to make sure everybody's there, so it's just hard for me to like, okay, they're not showing up. Everybody's getting really angry. I need to like just DQ them at this point.
It's true. I mean, it's one of those rough things where I'm like, well, I mean, we told them the time slot they had to show up in, and they knew about the schedule in advance. So like, if you can't make it, you know, you forfeit your opportunity to participate. Sorry to say it.
It was sad, but we should do a tournament together, you know, one of these days.
Let's do a Mario Kart tournament.
We just did one with Caesar, myself, and Rurik, and then we were just all like, okay, Rurik was the only one, even though, oh no, you're the furthest, you know, time difference. So it makes sense you were out first. I was the one holding it, so it makes sense that I was out probably second, and then Rurik was like the last one standing, like making the stream more sane, and like making
I made it pretty sane. I was just, you know, comparing the audiobook of The Legend of the Chad. Exactly.
It became The Legend of Chad the whole stream. I was just like, okay, well, we're doing this, but at the same time, I was just totally out of it at that point, so I was just really glad to have that. And that goes in with collabs, right? That it became, like, just you. And then,
I'm so sorry.
Like, I ended up collabing with, like, you know, viewers to go on, like, you know, and play Smash. It's always been Smash. And then, oh, wait, no.
Go figure. Can't co-stream on Fire Emblem.
With Mario Kart, and then, and then the mod
Did you do any with
streams.
Dead Souls? Right?
Yes, Dead Souls. Oh my god.
Dang, I know her information better than she. I've been doing my research.
Yeah, I did it with Dead Souls, and we would play every Thursday because you weren't really doing any more co-streams with me, so I was
it wasn't
okay,
you. It wasn't you. It was me, and I was like, screw Smash.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I gotta find someone else to co-stream with, and then it was Dead Souls who was like, okay, starting out. So I was like, okay, you know, that'd be good for us to kind of, you know, do these collabs so that, because you know, what was nice about your scenario is that you had like a higher, you know, amount of people than I did. So I was like, hey, I can benefit from.
Sure, yeah, you could leech off if you want to say.
Right? But then I was like, you know, the hard part to realize is that they see me there, but they won't go and click the Ashisa 11 to go follow her, you know? So it was like, kind of like an absolute dud anyways. So it's like, unless you're like the home base, like nobody's really gonna follow you until like, you know, like unless you force it down, like the viewers are like, here's the link, here's the link, here's the link, here's the link.
That's why you just have to have like that passive timer like I do, and it's just like, ta-da!
Yeah, I have that too, but meaning
but who
like,
uses
if I was
it?
on like your stream right now, there's nothing that's like coming up that's, you know what I mean, like timed. So it's like, unless you like kind of forced it. And so I was like, okay, I'll do the same thing for like Dead Souls. It's like kind of help him like get more people for his. So I was like, okay, we'll have it on his stream because it made more sense, and then bring all my people over there, kind of thing.
Right.
So
I just casually
I know,
plugged
that's what
in.
I felt like Light Out Light, by the way, when he said that. I was like, oh my god.
No, it's not you. Nah, it's just, you know, we don't have to go over my Smash community and why no one plays it anymore. It's not my problem.
Yeah, so then it became the mods, which, okay, I have to admit, out of all of my collabs, the mod ones are like my favorite, because it's like, we're seeing how the dynamic of each one of you guys kind of rolls in, and see like if you guys could actually mesh well.
And it's just like a brick wall. Just...
At the same time, like if there is a brick wall, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like talk it out because it's the only person that you guys all know. You know what I mean? Is me. So it's like, okay, gotta make sure that like I understand how to converse in this scenario with, you know, like let's say Ness, you know. Then we've got to go with Caesar over here. I've got to make sure they're not gonna fight with each other.
Nah, Ness, he a real one. Shout out to Ness. It's my homie.
Yes.
We all stand Ness.
Yeah, with Ness, I think I've done maybe 2-3 collabs. And that's what, you know, a couple of them mods and then one by itself.
Not including all the Xenoblade collabs?
Oh, and then Jonathan as well. Yes, we have collabs now with Jonathan doing movie reviews.
Yes, you did start that. And I just don't watch any of them because either A, I don't want to be spoiled, or B, I haven't seen it. And I'm just like, I have nothing to add to this conversation.
Yeah, so it's very entertaining to do the collabs because it's just like, well, they're coming to my channel, but it gives more information and dynamics to the stream. So
I agree.
Especially with, you know, you and I. Apparently, people like it when we're like, you know, at each other's throats sometimes. You know.
I don't know what you're talking about. We are the kindest of souls. We get along so well. We are the embodiment of the spirit of Christmas. You know, like, I may be the Grinch and you may be the Scrooge, but, you know, we are still embodiments of the Christmas spirit. It works.
That's pretty good. Grinch, and you might be the Scrooge.
But hey, it's still the spirit of Christmas. It eventually hits us like a truck, and we're just like, we love it. Yay. Oh,
Keep
gosh.
going with it.
No.
It doesn't sound like sarcasm at all.
Nope.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No. So,
yeah.
What was your most memorable collab? Besides, I know you said your favorites are the mod ones, but what is your most memorable? Like one that you're just like, that was great, and I aspire for all of my collabs to be just like that one, or better. Or
Okay,
if you want to go the opposite way, what was your worst collab?
I'm gonna have to level with you. Okay, the movie ones, the movie collabs.
The ones you've been doing recently?
So much work on my part. Like, it's like making summaries of the films and putting all the effort into it. And like the boys kind of just, you know, you have to see the movies before you go into it, and like right before, you know, because I have a horrible memory. So
wait, you rewatched them like right before? Oh my god!
So
Dedication.
I did the review of the Spider-Man movies
right after you watched
know how many movies there are?
Too many. I'm not counting.
It's a lot. And so I had to do hours upon hours of just watching films and then writing descriptions, then, you know, putting lists of villains and heroes and, you know, the directors and stuff like that. Then I had to do tier lists. And then, so it was just so much work.
I just imagine you just sitting in the movie, just having like some paper and a pen, and just going like,
I really, that's what I was gonna do. I was
excellent,
like, oh my God,
yes,
I
more.
I was literally like that in the movie theater because I went to see Spider-Man No
You
Way Home.
did not.
So I was
did not bring a note
I was
back.
looking in my purse for like a post-it note or something to write on.
Gotta write that down.
Because I was like,
and then like asterisks. I need a timestamp at 1 hour and 25 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah, so I would say that's not my favorite, but that's something that could be talked on for like hours with Jonathan and Squeeb and myself.
Sure.
Because every time, I don't know if you notice, when Jonathan comes onto my stream, it's always like about movie talk, and
I've
it's just
seen
like a
that,
continuous.
Yes. I was gonna jump in the Spider-Man one, and I was like, nah, no spoilers. Okay, never mind.
So I was like, okay, that's good, like for a stream, like where you would have a lot of conversation going. So like, there's not like the boys don't bring anything to the table. They're bringing a lot of the conversation.
They're bringing too much.
It's just like,
I'm just kidding.
The visuals and everything else is just so much work for me to do. It's just too much. So that one is probably my least favorite, but it's the like most.
You're saying like input to output, like you enjoy the output,
yes,
but you
like,
hate the input. You're like, this is way too much.
Favorite to prep. crap. Like, you know, tournaments are bad. Like, that is like 10 times worse than tournaments.
I believe
I'm
it.
just
Well,
like,
hello, you're putting so many hours into it.
I know. So I'm like,
That's dedication, though. You know, I respect that. It gives me way more respect for your movie reviews. Guys, you gotta watch her movie reviews. She gets so sad when no one shows up.
I know, there was like 2 people, guys. Like 2 people. And I was like, put so much work into 2 people. But that's fine by me.
Heck yeah, you better believe it, because those 2 people probably loved it.
Yeah.
I unfortunately will not be able to watch it until I see the movie.
I fudged up on that stream, and like, okay, because like the background noise that Jonathan was having was like really like, you know, like throughout the whole stream. So I had to bring up my like you know, the settings, and then the settings menu had my name on it, like legit, like full name.
Well,
and I was like,
guess that one's out.
yeah.
So I never got to see it. Wonderful. So you're saying is you're gonna make a 2.0 version?
Yeah, well, I may make it into a YouTube and you know, crop that out part, you know,
Sure.
and then they'll be like skip. So
The power of editing that we don't have here.
Yes, YouTube is great for that value, but that's it. I don't like the YouTube. By the way, you know, we're discussing question number 1 here. Is YouTube is definitely. Oh, it's Rurik.
Yeah, it is Rurik.
Gotta sleep. Yeah, fun.
Thanks,
Bye,
Rurik.
Rurik.
Hey, Rurik.
Thanks for coming up. Bye. But I'd say, you know, versus YouTube versus Twitch, by the way. YouTube, I absolutely hate because you could put comments on it. And I mean, like, mean comments.
Oh, it's like, can I not comment on Twitch and just write something in chat? And
That's true, but they have to tell it to my face. You know what I mean? You know, people will be dissuaded by that.
They'll see you and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this poor soul."
They're gonna see
Oh gosh.
Because there's a lot of people who will say it to your face, and they're the ones that are going to cause trouble for the stream. So, like, okay, they're going to do that anyways, you know? And they would make probably a worse comment if you would put it on YouTube. But, like, there is, like, the people who are too shy to, like, say it up front, and then they'll totally bash you in the back, you know? So, I definitely
I would never do such a thing.
You know, so I'd rather, you know, it be discussed right then and there, and then like to fix the problem, maybe if they're like annoyed about something I'm doing, then it's like, oh, okay, thank you. Like especially, I would say for live streams is like sometimes I have like little pop-ups in my particular computer that come up saying like, please, you know, restart your computer or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't notice it because I'm not looking at the screen,
Sure.
you know, but I'm looking at the Smash screen. And then like, you know, a couple of my viewers are like,
there's a thing over there.
yeah.
Up there, what is that?
There's something up there, please fix it. So I was like, oh, thank you. You know, so it's like the community itself will help you out, or if they're totally
True.
dissing on you, you can kind of fix it midstream, or like just end it, you know, like they don't like it.
No, it's very true, very true. I agree. I guess that leads over. Hi, Jonathan, by the way. Dang, 9.5 out of 10. That leads over to the first question that I had. That why do you prefer Twitch over YouTube then? Which
yeah, so
I know
is
my
100%.
my reasons line up more or less. I remember it was like, but not necessarily though. But the comments, I'm like, whatever. Comments are comments. I just liked, you know, the whole being able to have a live reaction and response, and just like I feel like there's a better sense of like community in like a Twitch stream versus like, all right, here's my YouTube video, I throw this out and then you guys can react to everything after the fact that I already did it. Like who knows how many days after I already did this. And then like versus Twitch, it's like, oh, hi Jonathan, how's it going? And then it's like, you guys want to see this? Oh, we can do this. Or like you get to know the person better because it's not like edited, obviously. It's like uncut, so it's just like, this is who Ashisa is, whether you like her or not. This is just who she is. But through the power of editing, she could either be a worse person or a better person you could have ever imagined. But you wouldn't know because it's all edited.
Yeah, and then also like the personality of like talking with people too, because like there's the personality of like this, like the social skills, right? Like, oh, I could talk to somebody on like Twitch versus the I'm not talking to anybody, like, and I'm just, you know, throwing jokes and everything, but that's what I do. But like let's say somebody else wants to make the joke even better. Like it's
They
great
can't
that you get the
enhance it, yeah.
feedback from other people.
Or like I guess the other thing is where like some people make a joke out of something that you never expected to be a joke.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And you would never catch it until like way after the fact because a bunch of people start commenting on it like a YouTube video versus like Twitch. It's like someone's just gonna say something in the moment and then it'll just click and it'll be there for forever. Like healthcare, like Rubik, or like Light Ally said. I don't know why, but you see, you get the point. Makes no sense.
What? Healthcare?
Yeah, healthcare, you know. I don't know, I don't get it either. But I know, I remember I used to do YouTube, and then I switched off, and I was like, now I'm like, I need to start making more YouTube content, because, like, that's what I want to do at the same time, but it's so much work and blah, blah, blah. You know?
Yeah, definitely the driving force of not doing YouTube was, it takes too much time.
It
like,
is a lot of work.
Cut, and I just was not interested in something that was going to be like, because I don't know if y'all saw, I had a stream earlier about drawing, and it took me like 20 minutes to just draw like the simplest little circle. Like, imagine me trying to edit a YouTube video. Like,
Of
it
you
will
drawing.
Be like, I've got to get the segment out, then I got to put the music, you know, and put this correctly. Like, no.
And the other thing is, like, you have, for example, let's say a YouTube video, you record, let's say, half an hour to an hour, depending on what it is, and then your video ends up being like 5 or 10 minutes long. And you're like, all of that content just wasted, just deleted, doesn't exist anymore.
But see, the thing is, if you do all that work for YouTube, right? You edit it and everything, more people will see it and think it's funny and like show it to other people rather than like a whole, like, you know, my Twitch.
Your Twitch streams. No one cares about our Twitch streams.
It's like 3 hours plus, you know, and I don't think anybody really watches it except for like
the real
like
ones.
if they're just wanting to hear it as like a background thing, you know, and then they'll see the complete thing, right? I don't think someone goes into my Smash streams and goes like, okay, after, you know, it's done, right?
I'm gonna go watch
not
it.
live. Like, I think they come for the live, you know, like where they want to interact with the streamer. So when I see that people will view it afterward or whatever, I feel like it's more like to just hear my voice in the background, you know? And
They're
then,
like, I miss Ashisa, I need to hear her again. Time for my daily dose. Alright.
I do that personally when I do
you watch yourself?
YouTube and stuff like that. No, I watch other fellow YouTube streamers, and I'll do is when I was at work, you know, I didn't want to like feel like bleh and doing my work, right? So I would put on a particular Twitch streamer. Or, sorry, YouTube streamer, and he would put video content of just like playthroughs of like Ocarina of Time or whatever it was, and I wasn't there to see the game. Like I'm good. I've
you just
played
all
that
audio?
game how many times? Yeah, so I was just like the whole time just hearing him with his commentary about what the situations were. And so it was just really relaxing just to be like, okay, there's that background voice that's like a friend of mine, you know? So it's not like this.
I know that guy. No, I get that. I remember I used to, like a couple years ago, I used to not get the whole streaming thing. I'm like, why do people watch long videos and play them in the background? And like, why would you watch a stream? Like, that's so bleh and blah, blah, blah. And I obviously didn't get it. I was like, nah, why didn't you do that? And I started doing it. I remember I had a job and I was like, well, I might as well have it as background music. It's kind of entertaining anyways. And like, I don't know. Even if I'm not seeing everything, at least I get some content out of it. And like, it's just relaxing. Like, even if I'm like, let's say going on a long drive, I'm like, yes, I get to hear so-and-so either rage or talk about or enlighten me or whatever, you know. It's not the same thing every day. And it's all natural. It's not authenticated. It's not like I'm like, all right, which is like kind of the bad thing about YouTube, because like you only get what they put out there versus like, I mean, I guess you could say you don't get everything that unless we put it out there, but like it's more raw on Twitch, because it's like, well, we can't edit it. On YouTube, it's like, I could just cut everything and make me seem like the best person or the worst person if you really want to look that way. So
very true.
Next pregunta. Music
Oh wait,
stuff.
I didn't ever answer you on the favorite person that I've streamed with. I put the
Oh
worst
yes,
one.
yeah. You didn't say that was your worst. You just said that's the most work.
It's the most work. I'm sorry. It goes into the worst category for me because it's like so much work. But it's not
Ouch.
that it isn't fun. Jonathan and I and Squeam have a good time, I feel like, you know, but the fact is, it's a lot of work to do those
True.
streams. But like I would say the tournaments I kind of enjoy the most, honestly, which
Especially
is
with me doing the Legend of Chad, I'm sure that really enlightened it.
it was so funny going with like you with the Legend of Chad though, because I kind of was like
You're inspired,
like,
I know.
there was like embarrassment, you know, like the fact like there's my words going out live, you know, but it was like at the
You're like,
same
no, this is
time-
not the same audience that I normally speak to about this. What is going on? There's like way too many people
Yeah,
listening
it's
to
like,
this.
Oh my god, put the mask on. Nobody can see me now. But it was interesting to be like, hey, you know, I actually like, you know, what's being said. You know, it's not like the like I'm
You're welcome.
ashamed of like what's going on here. And so it was just interesting to have that. But I would say with tournaments, they are really fun because you get people really hype, you know, like about like I want to be here and actually like fight some people and get up the tier, you know.
Yeah, you get everyone's
And-
best. They're all
yeah,
trying their
and
hardest.
And they're all like good sports about it. Like they're saying like, "Hey, good game," you know, and I
Except
enjoy
me.
that.
I throw my controller. I'm like, freaking Joy-Con drift, input delay, the lag, everything. I go the whole
The
9
salts,
yards.
The excuses, the
Yeah.
Johns.
True. But they're not excuses. They're legit. Because I said so.
Yeah, but those take a lot of work. But they're the.
They pay
if
off.
I was gonna say the best one, probably was actually my mod stream that I did
Mhm.
with all you guys. Or did you? No, you weren't there, right?
Yeah, that's probably why I was so good. You're like, this is
That's
great.
why it was
This is
the
not
best, I
you.
mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's fair. I only went to one mod stream. And I think I was only there for an hour and a half or something. I forgot what day it
pretty
was, but I just remember people
Everybody
kept
was
coming
kind
in
of,
and
like,
out.
switching through.
Yeah. I was just like, hello there.
Yeah, and it's really hard to get like Ness to come on to stream, you know? So it was like, okay, he's coming. Come on, guys, he's coming.
Let's go, guys. Step it up.
So that was definitely, you know, it was the most fun streams to do, and it was like all the people that I really,
Yeah.
you know, hoped
Care
for would
about.
get onto the stream.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
like, I
was
hope
like,
Caesar doesn't
why
show
aren't
up."
you here?
I
Yeah,
showed
I remember
up.
getting like so sad about you not joining. I was like, come on.
It wasn't
man.
by choice.
I know. I'm busy. I've got stuff
I
to
am
do.
busy. I did have stuff to do. I showed up to the next one though. I was like, hey, I'll be here for an hour and then gotta go.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you
But
showed up.
Our,
What a
our
loser.
Overcooked stream was so much fun. And so, you know, I'd totally be down for more Overcooked.
Karen was like, are you streaming tonight? And I hadn't told her that I was doing the podcast. And I was like, probably. And then she's like, Overcooked? And I was like, no, not tonight. I don't know. Maybe we could do another Overcooked stream sometime soon.
See, even Karen liked
That's
it.
because Karen was in it. Of course she's going to like it. Nah, I don't know. We've been playing like Overcooked, and then all of a sudden she's just like, I love this. And I'm like, calm down, Karen. It's just Overcooked. We've played this before, because I remember we didn't even do co-op. We all just versed each other the entire time. So next time maybe we could, I don't know, work together.
We know, work together
Group
and
of
see
four
how
and see how
horrible.
horrible we all work together. See, if you thought it was bad enough with like 2 of us working together at a time, imagine all 4 of us just yelling at each other. I'm like, Karen,
feel
Ashisa,
the
do this,
best
do
dynamic-
this.
Yeah, the best dynamic is if like I'm not trolling, you know what I mean? So if we're all on
Yeah.
the same team, then
You're
where
gonna
there's
throw
no
hard, I
me-
believe it.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be like, I'm throwing for content.
Throws all the items into the water. Yeah, I found sad though was that with that Overcooked 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have a lot of stage selections.
Bro,
It
that
just,
was
like,
low-key boring.
yeah.
I was like,
And-
is there really only like 5 stages? Like, we're just doing the same 5 stages over and over and over?
think we could do the arcade, right? Like the normal, like levels with with stars, right? And
You
then
mean
can play...
story mode?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
I was doing
probably.
story mode with Karen, and I mean it's more better because the levels vary. It's kind of sad that the levels are all just it's the same 5 maps. I'm like, at least throw in some variation. Come on now.
See, it's worse than Mario Party because, you know, Mario Party at least have a 20-minute, you know, 30-minute game off one board, you know, and that one, it's like done in like, what, 5 minutes?
I get through all the boards or all the maps in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, alright, well, that was fun. Time to repeat them again. What was your favorite one, guys? We did that for an hour. I'm impressed. We weren't bored with the same maps for an hour.
Yeah, but then if we do this again, you know, let's definitely not do
Story
the
mode.
versus stuff. Yeah, do the actual story because at least we'll have different. I thought it was interesting though because when I was with Karen, you know, I was like, okay, Karen,
You're like, we
okay.
got this.
We got to do it like this, you know, like it was kind of like we were both like figuring it out at the same time at the very beginning, you know, like talking it out. And then it was like, okay, go. Like, you know what your job is after, you know, that point. So it was really nice. But with you were just kind of like going to do it. And I was just like, okay, well, tell me what to do.
That's what I did. I was like, nah, you're going to do it now. We're going to do it this way. And chop, 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 chop. Time is money, and money is being wasted right now. So we need to go, go, go.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what we
like
did.
Pet and I were, you know, bullying each other on the side. I didn't want to bully Karen, you know what I mean? Like, I was just
I
like, okay,
would.
okay, we cool.
Just do it. Just go for it. I'm sure she'll appreciate
But
it.
I was like, okay, if I see a dish that's done, you know, I want to go grab it from her
Mhm.
and put it in my stuff. But that was like the extent of my bullying. But when Pet was there, I was like, okay, we going.
Yeah, you were
It was
throwing
become
hands,
Smash.
like throwing everything at each other. You're like, take this. And then I remember when you were putting stuff in my like turn in, what is it called? Like, yeah, the turn in area where you just provide the plates and you're like, here you go. And I was like, thanks for delivering that. They're like, what? No.
What was funny was when you were trying to steal my plate and you dumped it in the trash.
That was your fault. I panicked because like playing on like the Switch controller, it's like slightly delayed. So like I moved towards to like turn it in, but then my character was like and I click A, there's a trash can right there, and it's just doot, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, well, I mean, I guess it's just as effective. She didn't get it. I mean, I'm like, it didn't benefit me completely because I could have like leveled up myself, but like it didn't help her in any way. So here you go. Nice work, Pet. I in the trash with this. I hate it.
Wow. Yikes. I know, I was like hitting my character into yours, so I was like pushing you two as well, so your turn was going like even
Sure.
more right into the trash.
I was getting scared. I was like, please, leave me alone. I just want to turn in my stuff and steal your stuff, please and thank you. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. Did not work out. So, musica. As you know, I am musician, and you are also a musician.
Wait, I want to know your origin story first.
Oh God, what is this? I'm the one asking the question.
Hey, you're more of a professional than I am.
Well,
so
yes,
I
it's
need to
almost
hear your
like
origin
it's
story.
my job. Okay, fine. How far back are we talking?
Like, when did you go? Okay. When did you start your music? What instrument did you start with? And then, how did you get to the bass?
Sure. Okay. So I started on piano. I was a pianist when I was young. I know, scandalous. I mean, why would I ever want to do that? So I started learning piano.
Do so many notes at once rather than the.
Sure. I guess. And obviously I got tired of it and moved on. But I started. So I remember when I was younger, there would be like a keyboard at someone's
Wait,
house.
how young?
I don't know, like kindergarten, maybe younger than that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, okay, kindergarten is like when I started taking like lessons. But like before that, there was like.
Wait. Did you take lessons because like your parents are kind of
No.
forcing you to take lessons, or because
No,
they saw
I wanted
you like?
to. Yeah.
And then did you have like a piano at your house, so it was like an easy thing, or
I had like a
how did
keyboard,
you...
yeah.
Okay.
So
At kindergarten?
yeah, I liked it. So okay, I'll explain. So we would go to some like a family friend's house, and they'd always have this like keyboard there. So I'd always go over to it because I had like nothing else to do in the house, and then I was just playing the piano. And I found it entertaining. And so then my parents would get mad that I would play on their keyboard. They're like, "What are you doing? That's not yours." And then the guy would be like, just leave him. Whatever. He's not gonna do anything. If it breaks, it breaks." and so then I just kept playing. Like, no, but on this piano, I remember specifically, like, it would teach you how to play a song, but like it would actually light up the keyboards with like a red light. So it'd be like, you have to press this key, and so I'd press it, and I, keep going through the entire song, whatever. And then you'd learn, or like, you could do, I think there was like step 1 was like rhythm. So like you could mash any button and it would still keep playing the song. So, or like any key. So I'd just be smashing the same button, and I would like speed run songs. So I'd be like just pressing the keys as fast as I could just to hear the whole song. It was pretty entertaining. And then eventually I was like, okay, maybe I'll press it in the right spots and blah, 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 blah. So I did that, whatever. So my parents were like, oh, we should probably get him a keyboard because like he really likes playing on it. So then they got me a keyboard, and like as a Christmas gift, funny enough. And so then I had that keyboard for a really long time. And so then after that, they're like, oh, you just like, let's get him to take lessons, whatever, because he like really wants to learn. So I started learning how to play piano, and I took lessons for like 3 or 4 years on piano. And so I eventually was getting bored of it. I was like, meh, piano's not my thing. And so then I started taking violin classes at the same time, more or less.
Wait, why violin though?
So, sure. So I started taking violin lessons because at the school that I was at, they were offering free violin classes. And so I was like, sure, I'll do free violin classes. So I started doing this violin program, which, funny enough, I now am a teacher in that program, like many years later. So in 3rd grade, I used to be.
Circle, right?
Yeah, no. That's crazy. So I used to, in 3rd grade is when the program starts. So in 3rd grade, I joined the program. And then I just eventually was like, I don't want to play piano as much anymore. So I basically ended playing piano pretty much in my elementary days. Like I finished, like 5th grade was like the last time I like basically had taken lessons until like fast forward into college. Okay. So I had taken a really long break from piano. I was just like, I don't want to play anymore. Like it's just meh to me. I don't like it. And I'd played violin. I really liked violin. But then it was like the same thing. I'm like, meh, I don't like playing like the melody all the time. It's like, it's okay. And I don't know. It just never like, there wasn't like a true click for me. But I still kept playing violin. I played violin starting in 3rd grade through 5th grade. And then in 6th grade, I was supposed to go to a school that didn't have like a string program or an orchestra program. And so then I did it, what's called a string transfer. So I went to, so basically what it is if you're in, like, so I live in Orlando, for those of you who don't know. In Orlando, there's this thing, basically, it's like, if you played, this, I don't know if it exists now, because a lot more schools have orchestras, but back then it was like, well, if you play a string instrument, you can transfer to a school that has a string instrument program, or like an orchestra. So, because I played violin and I wanted to keep playing violin, I transferred to a school that had an orchestra in it. So, yeah, so not that I was like some prodigy or anything. I literally didn't play anything complicated. I'm pretty sure the person who listened to me didn't even know music. They just wanted to have proof that I could even play a song. So I played some random thing that I don't remember, to be honest. And they're like, good enough for me. So then they let me, I thought he lived in Florida. Okay, Gio. Hi, Gio. And so they like approved my string transfer. And so then I went to a middle school and a high school eventually, because also my high school that I was zoned for did not have an orchestra either. So I went to another high school that had one. And so what happens is, so I go to this middle school supposed to be playing violin. And I was like, I want to learn a new instrument. I wanted to play cello specifically. I was like, I want to be a cellist, maybe a violist. If not, I'll play violin because I don't want to play bass. I was very adamant on not playing bass. I was like, that thing?
I don't want to
Heck
play
no.
bass.
No, it's
Round
true.
circle.
No, I was
I
like,
went back to
heck
bass.
no, that thing, no. And so then I tried cello for a little bit, and then I remember they were like, we need a bass player. Like, do you mind trying, like, playing bass for like a year or something? And I was like, sure, just for a year, like whatever, just for.
Wait. Why couldn't any of the other people? Like, was it like everybody was told, and then you were just like the one that was like, fine, I'll do it, or like
No idea, I'll be honest.
they specifically pick you out and go, hey,
He's
you,
like, yeah, my
you look
teacher's
like
like,
you're tall enough to have
no,
that bass.
no. No. He's just like, can you do it? We need someone. And then I was like, because I was like, I guess the most flexible, because like I already knew how to play violin, and he knew that. So he's like, I don't want you playing violin again if you don't want to. And so I wanted to play cello, but he's like, we really need a bass player. I don't know. I don't know if he actually asked anyone else. I think he did, but no one said it yes or whatever. So he asked me. I was like, 1 year. We'll go with that.
It's not in my job description.
Well, you know, I was just a middle schooler, and I didn't really think that far ahead. So I did the 1 year, and I enjoyed it. I was like, I don't know, there's something about this like oompa instrument that's just hits all the right notes. And I'm like, I'm not playing anything crazy, because yeah, it does get a little boring, like especially when you're a beginner. I think that's the worst part, when it's like I already had so much experience on like violin and then transferring to like bass, where it's like the problem with being like a beginner on strings is like and like an orchestra, I mean, is that you're all reliant on the violins, because the violins are supposed to be like the melody and stuff, and if they can't play a hard melody, then your accompaniment and harmony is gonna be really boring. So like I went from playing like difficult stuff on like violin, or like somewhat difficult, not like anything crazy, to like, here's the most simplest of simple things I could possibly do on bass. But I liked it, and so then I picked up bass in that 6th grade. 7th grade, kept playing it. 8th grade, I went to my first all county playing bass. I don't know if you know what an all county is.
Nope.
Okay, I figured. I was like,
the cluelessness on my face
yes.
didn't show it.
There might be, I know in other places they call it all city, but I don't know. Maybe you don't know. Either way, all county or all city is basically essentially what it is you have a bunch of kids audition for either their county or their city, and like they choose like the best of those kids to all like collaborate in like 1 weekend or 2 weekends, and they all learn a bunch of new music in like the span of a weekend. So for example, in like Orlando, it's like, all right, all of the schools in like the Orlando area, you have all of these like middle schoolers who audition, and then we have like, they do like a panel of judges, and then they review the scores, whatever. You find out later if you pass it or whatnot, and then if you get accepted, then you know they send you an invitation to show up here and blah blah blah. Here's your music, start practicing it. Then you have your auditions for like seating and stuff and so on. So my first one was in 8th grade, and I remember they brought someone from Georgia in to conduct our group, and they bring people from all over the states and whatnot. And so then by that point, so remember that violin program that I started?
Yeah.
I was playing in their orchestra still. I was still playing violin, but at my school I was playing bass. So then around there or after that, their top orchestra needed a bass player. And I was like, hey, I play bass. Like, I'll do it. And so then like that pushed me to like get better, because I'm like, oh, okay, here's like way more challenging music on bass now, because these violin, not to say that the other ones weren't competent, but these ones are much better, because you know they're like high schoolers and they've had way more experience than a bunch of like middle schoolers were, and I'm like this middle school bass player, and now I'm playing with a bunch of high schoolers. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. So it definitely pushed me to get better at playing bass. And then 10th grade, 9th grade, I had heard about all states, which is the same thing as an all county or an all city, but the entire state. So Florida. I had to compete with every bass player in Florida, and so I didn't hear about Allstate until after it had already passed in 9th grade. So it's like, okay, I'll do the audition for it in 10th grade, whatever. And so then 10th grade comes around. I hadn't taken any lessons by this point on bass. I'd start taking lessons. So I get into Allstate after in 10th grade. And so then after I get into Allstate, I remember I had a teacher. He's like, you need to start taking lessons. I was like, why? He's like, so you can get better. Like, you made Allstate. Like, you need to start taking lessons. And I was like, okay. And then he gave me like my former teacher's like contact info. He gave me her number and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay. So I remember doing Allstate for the first time in 10th grade. I had to go to Tampa because that's where they have the convention. Because
from where you're at with Tampa, how long does that take? Because I'm
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to do it by bus or something?
No, just drive yourself.
Oh.
So what it is they take you, so obviously you have to, they like negotiate it with the school so you could pay like a low hotel rate because it's a whole convention. So what happens is obviously this is the Allstates, so they have Allstate band, Allstate choir, Allstate orchestra, and then you have Allstates for 7th and 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade, 11th and 12th grade, and then you even have like some Allstates for like elementary kids with what is that program called? Fred's blinking on me. It's like this percussion thing that they do, as well as like elementary choirs and stuff. If I remember the name of it, I'll say it. But
I would say handbells, but I'm sure it's not.
No, there's like a name for it, and I can't remember the name of it. It's I can't remember. It's like, I think it either starts with an O or a C, but I can't remember. Whatever, it'll come to me later. Anyways, so they have the program for that as well. So these kids play these percussion instruments. It's not necessarily handbells. They can play like xylophones or whatever. And so it's, like I said, it's the best in the state, basically. Like, they have all these panels, whatever. And then on top of that, there's also a convention that's going on. So like, all the music teachers from the entire state come to Tampa for all these conventions. They have conferences about X, Y, and Z, and some people will give presentations. They bring instruments from all over the state. Certain companies, even out of state, will come into these conventions. Universities, like music schools, will come to the conventions and like get their name out there as well, and so on and so forth. Like, it's a big deal. It's only like a once a year thing, but it's still a big deal. So that was my
sounds like it.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It was fun. But my first Allstate that I went to, I was sick. I don't know what happened, but like so when I was younger, like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, I used to get migraines, and like when I got migraines, it was to the point where like I couldn't even eat. I just had to go to sleep. I would like get home and I'm like, ugh. I'd have like 2 spoons of rice maybe, and then just like shower and sleep. I wake up the next day perfectly fine, but like that night or that day was like whatever. And so like fast forward like many years, I hadn't had migraines in a while, but I just felt like trash. I was like, oh my god. And so the way it works for Allstate is it's only one weekend. So you show up the Thursday, you have your seating audition that Thursday morning, and then you have your first rehearsal like hours later, and then Friday you have 3 rehearsals, and then Saturday you have, I think, 1 rehearsal or 2, and then the concert at that night. It's intense. So you have like your auditions are done in like September or October, and then you find out your results in like November, December, and they send you the music so you can get ready. So I had to do all that, but I was sick. So I remember I just felt like I was dying. I'm like trying to play bass, like, because this is the most like physically demanding I've ever been on like an instrument. I've never had to like do so many rehearsals in one day, and I'm like, Mom, I'm dying, like this is so like not the music, but I'm just not feeling well. I'm like, Mom, can you go to like Publix or something and get me something so that I like don't die? Because it's not like I was like coughing or anything. I just felt like the most massive headache, and I'm like, ugh. And so like I remember like on our like short breaks between rehearsals, I would just be like, I would go to the hotel room and just die in the bed and just fall asleep and be like, I need to recover. And I'd go back to the next rehearsal and be like, all right, because the thing is, if like you're late, you're gone. So I had to be there, and there's like no excuses. It's the same thing at All County. Like if you're late or absent, you're done. Like get out of there. So I was like, I need to do this. So, and I remember we had the concert that next day, and I was like waiting for us to perform, and the freaking thing was they had the band play first. I was like, oh my god, I just want to play and leave. I don't want to listen to some band people, like and I'm sitting in like,
especially with all the noises, like, you know, with the headache. I mean,
no,
like,
I know. And so I'm like, I'm just sitting there like, bruh. And it was in the front row. I didn't have a choice. So I'm sitting in the front, and I'm like, man, I just want to do anything but sit here right now. And I just want to play and then just crash somewhere and just die, go eat. And I remember telling my teacher, I'm like, yeah, I feel like trash right now after the performance. Like, I did well though, but like I was emotionally like drained. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then so I made All County every year since 8th grade. All State I did 10th grade. Then some mysterious thing happened in 11th grade that I just don't really get, and the theory might make sense to you. So during this time, my teacher was pregnant, so she was leaving the school, and we were supposed to have a substitute come in to like fill in for the rest of the year or however long, whatever. And so the problem was that it was also at the same time of like all this paperwork that was supposed to be due for these auditions, for like the all-state auditions. So we think something happened with the paperwork, because no one that year made all-state, like for the orchestra program. And we were shocked because we had some people who have been going to all states for like years in a row now. Like obviously that was only my second year, but like I had known people who had like made all states since like 8th grade, and like this is their senior year and they don't make it their senior year, and it's like, what? And like this and that. So we were all just like, what? Like we didn't make it? Like how is this possible? And so it just became this like whole like thing of like, all right, we think the sub screwed up in some fashion because like no one made it. But you know,
poor sub. It's like, it's all your fault. You came here at the wrong time. You screwed us all over.
Kind of.
I would assume for seniors that would be a big deal, right?
I mean, yeah. Imagine making it imagine making it every year except your last year. Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, like even for like college, right? Like resume or applications and stuff.
I mean, kind of. I mean, at that point, you just say they know who you are at that point. I mean, does it look bad?
That's true. You'd have to
kind
do
of
junior year, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when you do really all that work.
Yeah. So.
I don't remember. It's been a long time, guys, for me in high school.
And so in 11th grade, I didn't make it. I remember being super bummed. I was like, oh, dang. Like, I was like, so this is what it's like not making it into all state. Because I just remember, you're fine. I remember finding out, because all the band people and all the choir people are finding out about the results and saying how they made it and stuff. And I was like, isn't it weird? Like the whole day I'm like, isn't it weird that like no orchestra person has found out? And I was like, okay. And then I remember the sub like comes in and she's like, hey, can I speak to you for a moment? And I was like, oh boy, is this what I think it is about to be? And then she's like, yeah, no one made it, or like you didn't make it into All-State this year. And I was like, oh really? Like, you know, playing it off like, I'm not hurt, you're hurt. And so then I was like, oh okay, could I see the list? And I looked at the list and I recognized some of the names. And so then
you're like, I'm better than this person,
yeah, pretty much
this person.
And I was like, what? So then I remember specifically, I was just so bummed. So I just went to sit in a corner because it was my last class. This is the last class of the day. So I waited all day to hear this news. And then our last class is like a not a free period, but it basically was a free period because it was like a string techniques class that we didn't actually learn anything in. So I just remember sitting in the corner just being like, dude, this blows. I was like, how is it possible? I feel, and it frustrated me because by this point I had started taking lessons, and I was like, how is it possible that last year I made it without taking any lessons, and then this year that I'm taking lessons, in theory I should be more likely to make it, and I didn't. And so I was like getting all these emotions. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I was like, why would I take lessons then? Like, what's the point? I didn't make it this year, and so on and so forth. And I was getting mad. I was like, oh my gosh, what?
Was coming in.
Well, yeah, because I was like, I know I'm just as good as this person or better.
That person.
And
that person.
yeah,
Definitely not.
and so I was like, I remember just getting heated, and I was like, man, all these people are going to all states and stuff, and I'm still bummed about it because I didn't get it. And so then I was like, I just didn't understand because like I felt better than the year before, and apparently the results did not show that. The results showed I did worse because I didn't make it. And so then I was like, all right, well. And then the next year came around. That was my senior year. Now I was like, I'm making it. Like, you better believe I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it this year. And this was when my teacher was back, and so then the paperwork was done.
She's back?
Yeah. The paperwork was done correctly. I made it to All-State in my senior year. And so then not only that, I was second chair. I could have been first chair, but I was an idiot and didn't count my rests properly. And apparently I wasn't the only one, though. And I was like, you're telling me I could have been first chair, but I'm too stupid to count rests, that I counted too slow?
I feel like the person who didn't count rests with you was the third chair, you know what I mean? The one that...
Yeah, sure. And so this was my senior year. My goal was to get first chair, but I got second chair because I can't count rests.
Wait,
apparently.
how many chairs were there?
How many bass players?
No. Yes. So
I think that year there was like 8.
Okay. So you like legitimately were, good. You know what I mean? Like if you were like 2 chairs and then you're like,
oh no. No.
Number 2, I was definitely number 2.
I was number 2, guys. Yeah, out of 2.
Yeah.
No, so it's like I was second chair out of the 8 out of the entire state.
Oh.
If that makes sense, if you want to think about it like that.
Yeah.
And so I messed up counting rest. I was pissed. Ever since then, I make sure I count my rest correctly. Anyways, so that was my senior year. My professor, well, before he was my professor, I'd been knowing him for a while. Because he was a principal chair, the Orlando Phil. And so I'd seen him at all counties. So orchestra in Orlando. Anyways, I've been seeing him at all counties and all states and stuff. And so he was talking to me, and obviously he knew who I was and blah, blah, blah. And so...
your reputation preceded you?
Yes. And so, yeah, sure, whatever. Anyways, so he's like, what you thinking about school, like colleges and stuff? And then so he mentioned to me like places to go, which I eventually went to for my undergrad. And then...
Oh, you mean the suggestion actually like took? And you took that?
Yeah, I
and
did
went
take it. I did.
Hey,
and then I remember, because I was looking at a couple other places, and during one of my auditions, he's like, you will be my student. And I was like, oh. Like, what? Okay. He's like, I will be he's like, I will teach you. And I'm like, okay, I guess you'll be my teacher. Because I was still doing auditions, and he's like, nah, you're gonna be my student, doesn't matter where. And I remember through the whole process, he's like, all right, so which school do you want to go to so I can pull the most money there for you? And I was like, okay. So then I was like, I want to go to this one because like the other one is like a little close to home, and I don't want to deal with the same people at my house or like in my school days. And on top of that, this one closer to my house isn't as like good, like not as good a program as like that one. So I want to go to that one. So what did I do? He pulled the money for me, and I ended up debt free. I didn't have any debt going my undergrad.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I did my whole undergrad there, and then now he's trying to kick me out of Florida. Fun fact. Because he's like, you need to go elsewhere. I can't teach you anymore. I'm like, fair enough. I didn't want to be here anyways. Nice. No. But me and him, we've developed a great relation. He's a great teacher. Love the guy. I think he's super funny. We just joke around. And no, he's definitely helped me a lot. Like, because of him, I've been able to play with like the Orlando film myself. That's what I've been doing like this whole month. Like, I've just been busy doing that, and all these gig opportunities I have to thank him for, as well as just, you know, helping me be a better musician, better bass player like I am now. And now I'm, you know, I did my whole undergrad in music performance on bass, and now I'm doing my master's, and here I am looking to audition in Atlanta next month, and if possibly win a job, and, you know, then who needs my master's then? Just get the job and go on from there, and we'll see what happens. And I'm also doing other graduate schools, so like seeing what happens with those. So I've been doing pre-recorded auditions, and I know I eventually have to do some live auditions, so I have to go to these places and do their auditions and such. So yeah, that's how I ended up being the Caesar bass player that you know, the musician that I am.
Wait, that doesn't explain how you play the electric bass though.
Oh, I mean, that's not too hard. I guess I did miss a few things. So along the way, as I kept growing up, in 8th grade, I picked up cello because I wanted to learn how to play cello. And funny enough, there's this thing called solo and ensemble. It's basically like you either play a solo or in an ensemble. Hence the name solo and ensemble. Yeah. So I had a friend at the time, not anymore, but we played this like cello duet, and so I was like, I'll learn it on cello. So then I picked up cello, and I learned how to play this piece in like a couple months. And so then I started learning how to play cello, and then later down the line I learned how to play viola because someone needed a violist for an orchestra. And so I was like, sure, I'll learn how to play viola, even though you read the music differently because it's not in treble or bass clef. It's an alto clef. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'll read alto clef and blah, blah, blah. It's the only instrument that has its own clef. And so I learned how to read. Yeah. So I had to learn how to read alto clef. And funny enough, I played viola again the other day for another gig. I was like, well, go figure. But so I did that. And then electric bass. It's the same strings as an upright bass, like the bass I play. It's literally the same thing, A, A, D, G. The only difference is it has frets. Unlike my upright bass where there's no frets on it. So if anything,
and it's like much smaller.
It's much smaller. It's much easier. So like, you know, I have my electric bass right here. Yeah, it's not bad. It really isn't that bad to play. Hold on. Frick.
Yeah, this is the one he plays for the stream guys because you know he doesn't want to bring out his big bass.
True.
Make a lot of noise.
So like. You see how it has these like gray lines, right? Yeah, the cooler bass. All these gray lines, these are frets. It basically means that as long as I put my finger in between these two frets, it will be the same note no matter what. So I could be like right on top of the fret or anywhere in between, and it's still the same note. Unlike my upright bass, where if I have, because it has no frets, so if I move my finger like slightly up, then it'll be sharper, or if I move it slightly down, then it'll be flatter. So that's how it works. So essentially, like, if I can just put my finger in the general vicinity, it'll just be right. Versus like an upright bass, like my finger needs to land on the spot. If not, I'm screwed.
So that's like the baby, you know.
Baby bass.
You work up to get to that, you know, big bass where it's like, oh, okay. With your bass though, do you slap the strings or do any of that particular
on the electric
style?
one? I mess around with
like
it.
On the
upright.
Big,
I mess around. It depends on the type of music, obviously, but like I'm mostly classically trained, but like doesn't mean I don't do other genres.
Yeah, there was like I'm sure it's a different bass than what you have, but in the movie Some Like It Hot, he's like, and I slap it, you know. It's just this whole thing like. You know, so he made the bass look like you know, just a really like cool instrument to play, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting to be like, and I slap it.
It's true. Just And so I'm trying to think anything else. Yeah, in college, as a result of my musical classical training, I was required to relearn how to play piano because they're like, we need pianists. And so it was, like everyone, like it's part of your studies. You're basically required to do 2 years of piano, but because I had like previous piano experience, I got to do it in like a year and a half. And I think pianists are only, I don't think pianists are required to, because I play piano.
Why is it the piano though? Like, what's
because
special
essentially
about
what it is like when you're doing your music theory studies, that's what it is. There's 3 aspects of music theory. There's a music theory, duh.
Yeah.
There's aural training, so like listening to stuff and hearing like this goes into this and this goes into this, hearing cadences and scales and blah blah blah. So it's like I can hear that this goes from a 5 chord to like a 1 chord. So like I'm not necessarily like that I can hear what key it is, even though, oh my gosh, thank you. Is it AGB Fresh?
Hi, AGD Fresh.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for the host, the raid. I appreciate it. Welcome everyone. Back to what I was saying. What was I saying? I forgot. Thanks for the I completely forgot. Thanks for the follows. I appreciate it. Welcome everyone. Hi, Mike Plays Games. Thanks for the follow. Welcome everyone. We're just talking about my music studies. So I was saying, yeah. So we have music theory. That is Hold on, let me just thank everyone real quick. Thanks, AGB Fresh, for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you, WT Budgie, as well. I don't want it to seem like I'm ignoring it, because that seems rude. So I don't want it to seem like that. I appreciate everyone stopping by, and welcome to the C Zone. It is a podcast that I host, and Ashisa is our guest for the second week, or not week, but second episode in a row.
Yeah.
We're just talking about my music experiences as a musician.
And Gio here with absolute sass, like,
Yes.
and it keeps making me laugh, and
I've
like
noticed.
inopportune times, like where you're just like talking about something, and I'm just like, I look at the comment, and I'm
You're like,
and I'm like, it's gonna show on the video. Like, why is she laughing at
Yeah.
me? This looks crazy.
So yeah, why it's on piano? So you have music theory where they teach you, like, if you don't know how to read music for some reason at this point, here's how you read music, and here's chords and intervals and blah blah blah, chord progressions and harmonies and etc. It's like 2 years of that. And then you have aural training, which is, yeah, you have aural training, which is basically everything that you did in music theory, except now you're listening to it instead of seeing it written down. So it's like, all right, I'm hearing these notes go this way, and I can write down the melody. Like if I have a starting note, like obviously I have perfect pitch, so that's different. I can literally cheat it and just be like, all right, this is an E, this is an F, this is a G, whatever. Versus them, they have to hear like, all right, this note to this note is like a whole step, or like a major second, so then that must mean it's an F, or it's like a perfect fifth or whatever. And then on piano is basically the application of what you're doing. So you can apply like playing chords, because on a piano you can play chords, and you can't play chords on like not every instrument you can play chords on. Like you can't do it on like a trombone or like a wind instrument, or I mean I guess you could do it on some percussion, but that's why you have piano. And string instruments, it's like a lot harder to do chords, but I mean they're possible. So they make you teach
The xylophone, where you have like so many.
Yeah. But how are you gonna get so many xylophones in one room?
Yeah.
And so what it is they pretty much just make you do the piano stuff to apply what you learned. And so you have the music theory for like the written stuff and the understanding, I guess, the aural training, so you can hear what you're learning, and then the keyboard training, I guess is what they call it. I don't know, keyboard classes, which is you applying what you're learning, so you can physically see what you're doing and how it sounds as well. So I had to do piano for a year and a half because I said I had some piano experience in college. And then I got to skip a year of aural training because the perfect pitch. I was like, I know some of this. So the only problem was I didn't know solfege. I don't know if you know what solfege is. You may. So you'll
Nope.
probably know it when I say it. It's like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Oh, okay.
That's what solfege is. That's just what it's called. So I didn't know how to say that like in terms of like music stuff. Like anyone can say do, re, mi, but saying like this note is re in like the context of like whatever you're supposed to be singing or listening to. Like nah, I'm just like nope, that's C and that's it. Like this ain't no re or fa or whatever. So I had to learn how to do solfege, and the problem is like I'm already in like the 3rd semester of Aural Training when I'm supposed to be in my first year, like it's technically, but because like I knew all the notes, I just cheesed my way through it. And so then I remember my teacher, she's like, you'll be fine, you'll learn solfege like it's nothing. And I was like, I don't even know anything about solfege. Like I just know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and I barely know that. I can't go backwards like at the time. And so then I remember also having to learn like the minor version, because that's like a major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then going to the minor, it's like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and so on and so forth. So that was definitely interesting. But yeah, picking up all that, and then now I play piano much more regularly than, I took a gap from like 5th grade till freshman year of college, and then I'm like, learn piano. I'm like, okay. So I learned piano.
But wait, does that mean you still have the keyboard of when you were in kindergarten then?
So I had that one until I got into college, because it was like, this keyboard is just like the audio on it, like the speakers were just dying. Like it just wasn't making sound anymore.
That's what I have with my keyboard. I smack them, like,
and it's just like
make it work again.
So then I was like, I need a new keyboard. So we got a new keyboard. It's a very nice keyboard, and I obviously use it a lot more than I used to. And so my keyboard is actually like right there. But yeah, so then I picked up keyboard, and then I've been playing bass, upright bass, and doing various. I guess I could mention like my professional experience. I don't know. I started my first professional gig in 10th grade, actually. So that substitute who like low-key was annoyed with about the whole Allstate thing, she actually was like, how comfortable do you feel playing this? And I was like, I mean, I've played this one before and this, but I could learn the rest. Why? Okay, I want to hire you. And I was like, you want a what? Keep in mind,
was it
no, it was for an orchestra. It was for an orchestra.
Oh my god.
And I was like, you want to hire me? I'm like a 10th grader. Like, what? And so it was my first professional gig. I got to play The Planets by Holst. So it was Mercury through Uranus, or Neptune, because Pluto wasn't a planet, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, and they didn't write one for Earth either. So there was no Earth and there was no Pluto. It's just the other planets. So I played The Planets. I played Academic Festival Overture. This is probably music you don't know. And Pines of Rome. If you've not heard any of these pieces, definitely recommend you check them out. They're great. And so the thing was that she hired me for like the opening of this concert hall. Like this was the first performances that was going to exist in those concert halls. And I was like, what? So I remember doing it, and I was like super nervous. I'm like, I'm just a high schooler with a bunch of professionals here. Like, what? I'm trying to like make sure I don't screw up the music. Or I guess I was in 11th grade. Yeah, I was in 11th grade because that's when the whole thing happened. Yeah. So I was in 11th grade, and I remember being super nervous because I was like, I don't even have my own instrument. Like, I'm using a school bass and blah, 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 blah. So I remember driving all the way out to wherever it was, and then just being with like 3 other professional bass players, and I'm just sitting in the back. And this was the first time I met one of them. His name's Trent. Still a good guy. I actually still talk to him to this day. And I see him more often now. And so it was funny because I actually asked him for my senior recital for my before I graduated. I was like, can you listen to my my program? Like, can I play it for you? Do you have any critiques and stuff and how to make it sound better and blah, blah, blah? And I'm just like, man, I've known this guy since I was in 11th grade. And here I am like 6 years later playing for him, like asking him to listen to me. And like, that's just, it was so weird. In the same hall too, actually, now I think about it. Because I asked him if we could do it in there. And he's like, yeah, I don't mind at all. And so I had
wait, how much age difference were you between you and Trent then at that point? Because
how old is he?
Adult, I'm assuming, right? No,
yeah,
I mean,
he was
like,
in
the age. Like, I don't want to ask like how old.
Yeah, Trent. Well, Trent was. So I was like in 10th grade. I think Trent had just finished his undergrad.
Okay.
Or like somewhere in that time zone. Because I was like, let's say 16. Let's say 16-ish. Something like that. 16, 17.
That'd be
And
17.
I'd be like 16, 17. And he's got to be at least in his like 20s. Because he's married now. He's married now. And yeah. And so has his own place and stuff. But at the time, he's 60. He's not 60. He's in his 30s. Great guy though. And I remember something fascinating about his bass is that his strings aren't tuned the same as like a normal bass. Because normally, I said before, I don't know if you know what a fourth is. You may or may not.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's okay. So basses are tuned in fourths essentially. It means like if you count letters, it's the fourth letter. So like from A, you have A, B, C, D. So the next string would be D. And the string after that would be D, E, F, G. So that string would be G. So basses are tuned in fourths. So it goes E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that's why it's E, A, D, G. And all the other string instruments, like violin, viola, cello, they're all tuned in fifths. So it's the same concept, but just go C, D, E, F, G, and then G, A, B, C, D, and so on. So a cello is tuned C, G, D, A. A viola is also the same thing. Violin is G, D, A, E. Anyways, so his bass was tuned in fifths, and every other bass in existence is tuned in like fourths. So I was like, yeah. And so I was like, because I kept hearing him play, and like on bass, and bass is weird compared to the other ones. We have this thing called a C extension. Basically means I can play notes lower than what's designed for my instrument. If I get this like thing to extend it further, they have to pay money to install, whatever. Anyways, so I kept hearing him play this like low note that shouldn't be possible, and I'm like, how is he playing that? Like, he doesn't have an extension, like that shouldn't be possible. And then I'm like, I remember playing, and I see this guy like moving his hand at like different times than I'm doing, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so then he's like, oh yeah, I play in my bass is tuned in fifths. And I was like, what? So then he's like, yeah, if you want to try it, go ahead. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? You know, I'm a 10th grade kid. I'll try a weirdly tuned bass. And I remember I tried it, and then like years later I asked him, like, why do you play your bass in fifths? Like, no one does that. Like, so why do you do that? And then he told me about how he met someone and he tried it and he loved it so much, so he tried it himself, and then he just liked it basically. And I remember my professor, he's like, yeah, there's this weird guy who tunes in fifths. I was like, oh, that's Trent. He's like, you know Trent? And I was like, yeah, he's a great guy. He's like, yeah, he tunes his bass in fifths. It's so weird. And and he's like, but I mean, he makes it work. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's good. And my
poor guy, he's being thrown out as weird.
Yeah, because like no one does that.
New way to do this, and they're like, you're weird, bro. You're like, really?
Pretty much. And I was like, poor thing. But I loved Trent. And so yeah, I would that was the first time I worked with Trent. And then there's two other bass players, and I remember one of the bass players was like, your son is like really good. And he was telling my parents, he's like, if he asks you like a $30,000 bass, you better buy it. And my parents were like, what?
Wait, how much does basses, like, how much are they usually, like, just for like a normal run-of-the-mill one? Not like super fancy, not like
that the question is usually, how much do you have? That will determine how much you want to pay.
Okay,
so
the one you have, like,
mine,
how much would that cost? Yeah.
I bought mine. Yes, I bought mine for 10,000. It's valued at 15,000. So I got it on sale basically. My professor's bass is probably 30,000, probably more. I'd say most school basses are about $1,000 to $2,000. But that's like cheap. You know, I mean, if you consider $1,000, $2,000 cheap, but it's like a cheap bass.
Aren't those like usually the ones that are like used, and then they go get them, and
or
then
like
they take them for their...
yeah, either that or they're like manufactured. Because mine was like handmade. So like obviously that costs more, and like having someone manually do it versus like a machine that just pumps them out all the time, yeah, that would definitely change the price. So my bass, and the only reason I guess I'll include this in my resume of music, the only reason I was even able to afford my bass was because I got into a car accident and someone hit me. So funny enough, it was my freshman year of college, and I remember we had a rehearsal, and this was the day before the concert, and so we had that rehearsal that night, and I was like, all right, whatever. I did the rehearsal. I was going home, and so keep in mind, you probably don't know this, and probably no one else does. I drive an hour to school back then. I would drive an hour to and from. So it's just like one way is an hour. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I got used to it. And people thought I was crazy for driving an hour to school. Some people were like, you're not going to last. Like, you're going to drive an hour every day? And I was like, yeah, it's like way cheaper than paying for housing. I'll drive an hour. And so I knew a guy who used...
Is it bad?
It's not bad. I knew a guy, slight sidetrack. I knew a guy who lived like 30 minutes from the school, and he couldn't handle it. So he moved onto campus like 5 minutes away. And I was like, you're going to pay for housing instead of living 30 minutes away? Yeah, right. And anyways, besides that, so fast forward, people thought I was crazy for wanting to drive an hour. And I got used to it pretty much. I started streaming at this point. This is when I said, like, I understood why people like listening to stuff in the background, because I would just play like an hour-long video on my drive. Anyways, and so I had left the rehearsal, whatever, and I remember one of my stand partners, he's like, don't die. And I was like, I'll try not to. Like, as a joke. And so I'm like leaving the school, whatever, and like not even 10 or 15 minutes from leaving the university, I'm like just leaving the city-ish, getting ready to go on the highway. And what happens is, like, some guy in front of me, they have like couches on like this trailer in the back, but it's like an open trailer, and like parts of the couch fall off onto the road, and so the cars in front of me stop. I stop, and the guy behind me, I'm like, I remember looking in the windshield mirror, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna hit me. And so I remember swerving to the left to try not to get hit, and he like tries swerving to the right, and he still hit me anyways. And I was like, well, frick. So I got hit, whatever. I had to deal with that whole incident. And I was like, all right, I'll be fine. Like, I didn't feel like I was hurt. And my parents were like, you should go to the doctor anyways. So I was like, all right, we'll go to the doctor over the weekend or whatever, because, like, I don't have time. And so next day, concert. I was like, all right, cool. Let's do this concert. Holy. I started feeling the pain, and I found out later on that I had 2 herniated discs and a bruised disc. And so I just remember playing, and we were playing Brahms Symphony, and this symphony lasts like an hour on top of like the other stuff we were playing, and I was sitting first chair for the symphony because it was the last piece. I was just sitting there. I'm like, oh, the pain is in my back. And like, bass is really demanding physically. Like, playing that thing is exhausting. So I'm like, oh, my back, I'm dying. Like, can this concert end? Like, I just felt bad. And I was like, I remember telling my parents, I'm like, I need to go to the doctor. Like, this is not okay. And so I went to the doctor, whatever. I found out I had to go get like scans or whatever, and that was the first time I ever had any scans done to me, because I've never been to like the hospital or anything of that sort. So this is like the most serious injury I've ever had happen to me. So I remember they're like, yeah, you need to get like a CT scan, I think is what it's called. And then and I was like, oh, what? I don't know any of this terminology. I've never had to do any of this in my life. And so I just remember I went, they did the scan or whatever, and they're like, are you claustrophobic? And I was like, no, why? And they're like, oh, okay, because this scan is like, you're in a close space. And I had no idea. So I was like, okay. And I remember just laying in there. Yeah, you're going to be in there for like half an hour. I was like, what? And I remember being in there for like the first 20 seconds. I was like, oh god. I didn't realize how tight this space is.
Does it make a lot of noise? Because like an MRI, it like makes like so much noise, and you're in there and you're like,
it's not like a lot, but like I definitely heard beeps and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do this again. and so I was just there for a really long time, whatever. I found out all the results. I had to do therapy for the entire summer. to like help me with like my back and such. And so then at this point, I had started streaming before that, a little bit on YouTube. And then I was like, well, I can't do anything else. Why don't I start streaming? So then I started streaming on Twitch around July, because I was like, wait, why don't I just stream? I got nothing better to do anyway. So I started streaming more and more and more.
The origin story of streaming too.
Yeah. No, I know it all interconnects. And so then anyways, fast forward, they were like talking about reimbursing me for an instrument, or not for an instrument, for my injuries, And so then they were telling me, yeah, we could get you like, I don't know, let's say 5,000 at the time. And then I was like, okay. And they're like, do you want us to keep fighting? I'm like, well, sure, give me as much money as you can. Why would I tell you no? So then they kept fighting for like my rights or whatever, my compensation.
Did that take, though, to
took
get
like
the
a
money?
year.
Okay.
A year and a half. Actually, yes, because the accident was in April 26th in 2018. 2018.
I was like,
I didn't get reimbursed. Until like February or March of 2020, I think. Or 2019.
yeah,
It took like a year.
If you get in a car accident, it like takes forever to get any of that.
Yeah.
Like
So
long. It's a
So it
huge
took me
process.
about a year or a year and a half, almost 2 years to get it. And then I remember asking my professor, I was like, Professor, how much money should I be saving to buy a bass? He's like, excellent question. And he's like, a good starting base is like, he's like, I quote you, a good starting base is like $10,000. I was like, wonderful, I have it. Because remember that car accident I got into a couple of years ago? Yeah, I got reimbursed. And he's like, oh, great. Well, awesome. We'll help you start looking for cars in the market. And so...
I like how with that amount of money, you didn't go and like spend it on some, like college or whatever, you were like, I'm gonna get that base.
Well, because I didn't have to pay anything for school. So I was...
But you could have been like, I could have spent it on something else, but you went straight to your...
Because
your
I
musical
need...
instrument.
let me tell you, growing up as a musician and like doing all these things, it always pissed me off, because I was like, there's times where I'm like, I know him better than so-and-so, but so-and-so has a better instrument than me. So I can't prove it, because I'm like, I'm using a school instrument and they're using like their own personal instrument. And I'm like, man, I wish I had my own personal instrument. So then I'm like, finally I can buy my own. Like, you know what it is, having just my own instrument? I've had it for 2 years now, but like, holy, it makes a difference. Because it's like, this one's mine, and like I can make a connection, like I can understand this instrument better because like I get to work with it every single day and blah 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 blah. And so like I got this bass. Well, we started looking for basses and stuff, and I tried out a bunch of basses. It's not like a store where I go to a store and like, how many basses you got? No, it's like I have to go find people who are looking to sell their basses.
It's so pretty.
Oh yeah. So I have to like look for people who are selling basses, and I found out, thanks to my professor, like various people, and then I found the guy who like sold my bass now that I have now. And he was telling me...
Wait. For finding that, though, how long did you have to travel to get there?
Oh, funny enough, he came to Florida. He was conveniently coming... And I say 2 years because it's literally been like 2 years in November. Because he came during Thanksgiving, because his family is in Orlando. And I remember telling him, he's like, I'm actually stopping by... Orlando, so I could just bring the bass down. I was like, okay.
What's the luck in that?
And so, yeah, if not, I have to go get it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, figure something out, because you can't fly it. I mean, you could, but it's too much risk, because it could get damaged. So I was like, all right, I guess he just came down. I was like, perfect, great idea. So I grabbed the bass. And he's like, yeah, if you want, just keep it as long as you need until you... And that's usually how it works. Most people are like, just keep it as long as you need until you're comfortable with like buying it or not, and this and that. And so I remember I played Handel's Messiah, like the Hallelujah thing. And so I was like, I like this bass. I remember the first time I played it, it just projected so much in that like hall, and I was like, holy, this thing projects way more than like this school bass, and it's so nice, had a nice low end, high end, etc., etc. And so I was like, and I had tried other basses before, but there was always like some random thing that I didn't like about it. Like sometimes it was like lacked in one area, and so I like tried this bass, and I was like, I like this bass. And so then I was like, how much for the bass? And he's like, so this bass is worth 15,000, which it is. And he's like, I can sell it to you for 10. And I was like, sounds like a steal to me. Like, and then I remember talking to my professor about it, and he's like, yeah, that bass is like, it's worth 15, and he's selling it to you for 10, but it's like, it sounds like a 20. And I was like, you can't beat that. And so I ended up buying the bass, and I've had it now.
Do you think he may have like sold it down because he thought you were a kid and thought like you probably didn't have the money for it?
No. Most people, when it gets to that point, they just don't need the bass because he has another bass. Like, he's just trying to get rid of it. Like,
oh, okay.
Like, he's like, I already own my bass. I don't want to have two basses in my house, you know. So he's like, I just want to sell this one. And it's like, fair enough. Like, why would you want to? Because like, it has insurance on it, so like you have to pay insurance for two instruments, and especially when you're not using one. So like, my bass has insurance, so like, he's at that point, it's just like, I don't need this instrument. That's why they say take your time. Like, don't worry about like returning it as soon as possible. Like, you know, until you're content with giving me an answer, that's fine. And so
wait, how long did you give him an answer?
How long did I wait? The thing with like me is I'm pretty quick with my decisions. Like, I'll either know if I like it or don't. Like, I don't really wait super long. Like, there's this one bass that I tried. It took me like an hour to get it to warm up into like the way it, like, to get it to sound good. I'm like, bro, this is too much effort. And then even when it was like warmed up to be like the sound that it should be giving, I still didn't like it. Like, and that bass that I have now, it was pretty quick to warm up, but like when I actually warm it up, even like playing it cold, I guess it's like, it sounds good, but like when it warms up, it sounds like really nice. So I don't even like, it just enhances it so much more. So I remember playing this bass, I'm like, bro, this bass is just something else. And like, to this day, like, people that I like play with, a lot of people are like jealous, I guess, of my bass. They're like, man, you have a nice bass. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't know, it's not like I spent a lot. It's not like I spent 30,000 on a bass. Like, you know, it's a good bass. It's definitely a good bass for the value. And so that's how I got my bass. And still,
but would you ever upgrade yours?
Probably.
I'm assuming, like, if you have the money, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
you would go and upgrade it.
Yeah. I mean, eventually what would happen is, like, let's say I land a job, right? Well, then eventually, like, when I get paid for my job, I'm like, all right, well, time to go shopping for a new bass. And then I'll do the same thing. Well, I'll have my bass and eventually sell it to someone. Maybe 10,000, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Get my money back.
Yeah, you don't want to be the nice person who gives the 5,000, you know? Nah.
No, I'm not devaluing the bass. No, I'll be like, all right, I bought it for 10. You're going to give me 10 for it. Or maybe 11 because I'm the Grinch.
And I'm the Scrooge.
Yeah. So yeah, I got the bass. Great deal. No regrets. And that's my music journey. I know it's a lot. I literally think I talked for about 40 minutes plus. About just me talking about.
I'm the one who got you started, so
okay, but it's your fault. It's a long story, okay? And I haven't even talked about how I'm teaching now in the program and blah blah blah. But yeah, now I'm trying to be professional. All these auditions and master school. But if I could get a job, then who needs master school? No more debt. Well, it wouldn't be any debt because I don't have any debt. But like, I wouldn't have to throw myself into debt. I could just get a job.
Wait, are you saying with your master's you're not in any kind of debt? That's nice.
Currently, no.
Oh,
I say currently.
I know, because you haven't like gotten the bills.
I haven't.
Like,
no.
right?
So like, I haven't really, like, right now what it is like, because like I said that I don't want to be doing, like, right now I'm doing my master's but with my same teacher, and so I'm pretty much doing the bare minimum to have a master's degree while staying in a master's program. So I'm pretty much only doing lessons and orchestra, just to fill in for like this year, because I was like with COVID and stuff, I was like, I don't want to be online. I hated doing that for the past like 2 years of my life. Like, you know what it is being a music performer online? It's the most miserable thing. Doing lessons virtually and all this stuff.
You don't get any of the wedding gigs, you know, you used to.
Oh my
like
gosh, you don't understand.
This
Like
done.
these past 2 years were like miserable for musicians, because we're like, well, guess we can't do anything. Time to be broke. And so like this past month, I've just been so happy. I've been like, I finally got to do, like, when I got that Final Fantasy gig. I don't even know if you remember that.
Yes.
That was like the first like
Good game.
Yeah, good game. And so that was like the first professional gig that I got with like the Orlando Phil again after so long. And so like I did that gig. I was so happy. Like, besides the music, I was just like, oh my god, I miss performing, dude, like in a good orchestra, and like having people come and watch, and like, of course, like playing. The music was fun too, but I was just like, dude, this was so, like, it's been like 2 years basically since I had done a professional gig at that point. Because like just the situations and stuff, and I was like, bro, I missed this, like, definitely. And there was a lot of people who I know like quit the music path because of it. Like, one of the guys, the guy who was first chair that year that I was second chair, he quit. He stopped playing bass, and I was like, wow. I'm like, I guess I'm the definitive number one now. And so, but he quit, and I was like, well, dang. And like, I remember professor was like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, this is gonna be too much for them, but like those who get through this are like definitely gonna have the advantage. There's gonna be a lot of job openings because people are gonna retire because they don't want to deal with this either. And I'm like, fair enough, and blah blah blah. So now I'm just trying to capitalize and make the most of it, you know, do my thing.
Gotta do that capitalizing, right?
Yeah, no,
Might
yeah,
as
so
well, right?
yeah, so that's why I'm doing that Atlanta audition. I thought about doing one in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, but I was like, that's kind of far. And it's really cold. I'm just a Florida boy. I'm gonna freaking turn into an icicle if I show up in Milwaukee. She's like,
I don't understand this weather. I don't even have clothes for this weather.
I probably wouldn't. I'd have like to stop at some store and be like, please, I need clothes. Give me something.
Yeah, I'd say that for like rain boots or any of the
Yeah.
sort. Like over here, like in my area, there's like nothing there. But like you go up north, you know, and then there's like this whole selection of, you know, rain boots. It's just depending on where you're living, because it's not gonna be here in SoCal. So I'm just like,
Right.
well.
And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Just various job auditions, various school auditions. And I literally probably killed like an hour on my own. Yo, part 3. Yeah. Anyways, we're back to you, Arias. Music. How about you? How did you get started? Why piano? Inspirations, all that fun jazz.
Okay. So I'm not a professional like Caesar. No,
I'm sorry.
Everybody be aware, you know.
It's
like,
okay. We don't all have to be professionals. It's about loving the music we do, anyways.
Hour, you know. But like my dad, like, okay. Sorry, let me rewind a little bit.
Sure.
Okay,
Go
so my
ahead. Take your
grandma
time.
used to play the piano, right?
Uh-huh.
And so she had a piano at her house. So then my dad was good at the piano. Then when he became older, that was like his main objective in life, was to get a nice grand piano, you know? And it's my objective in life too, by the way, you know? It's
Grand
passed
pianos are
down
very
generation
nice.
to
It's very
generation.
nice. No, I definitely, like, if you can, I have a friend who has one. I'm like, dang.
Yeah, I can't do upright. I can't do any of those. Like, it has to
It
be
doesn't.
kind
It's.
of, like,
It doesn't hit the same way. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it really does not.
Have you ever played on one?
Yeah, so I played on a bunch because, like, in college, I needed to find pianos, you know, because I didn't know. Okay,
Sure.
I had my keyboard the whole time, okay, during college and stuff like that. But there's just something about playing the piano with the keys and
piano,
everything.
yeah.
There's just something about it. So I can't do the keyboard. Like that's for fun and like it's convenient, but
Yeah,
like
it's not the same.
I need my grand piano. Like that's the main objective goal for my life. So my
Fun-
dad had this grand piano, right?
Mhm.
Wait.
Oh, I was just gonna say, fun fact. At my university, no one was allowed to play on grand pianos unless you were a piano major. They're
Oh my
like, they banned
God.
everyone. They're like, nah, these pianos are only for the pianists.
dude.
Like, you can play on the upright ones, and I was like, well, bummer, I guess.
Yeah,
because they're like, the
area
pianists
we
need to
had-
play on the pianos that they need to perform, so it has to be in a grand piano and blah 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 blah. Makes sense.
Yeah,
but
the dorms had an upright, so I could play, but then that was like freshman year. So then I was like, after freshman year, where am I gonna get a piano? So then I like stumbled upon it, like just walking to one of my classes I was trying to find, and they were like, pianos, like you can fill in a time frame what you want to play it, and I was like, why didn't I know about this sooner? Like,
Yeah.
I was just so upset. I was like, oh. So I kept signing up like during college to like, you know, give me my hour time of being in
Sure.
this. And they were like literally a tiny room, you know, just with the piano
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and that's how
Practice
it was.
room.
Yeah, it's like 3 of them and nice things, so it was really nice. But my dad, he had a grand piano, so then like I have a brother and a sister, right? Older sister, older brother. And
The more you know.
basically, you know, when you're I don't know if in every family dynamic it's like this, but usually the oldest kind of gets the first go at like lessons, okay? So I'm the third in
You
line.
mean music lessons?
okay?
Is that what you mean?
So basically my sister got like ice skating lessons, piano lessons,
okay,
like
in
you know,
general,
she got all
yeah.
the good things, and like by the time it came to me, everybody had like, you know, said like quit their stuff. So then like the last one in line is like, well, we're not gonna waste that money on like
On you.
no, that's good. You know, the other siblings had it, you know, you can learn from them, which none of my siblings were like, hey, let's teach you how to play. They were kind of like, my brother and sister were really kind of close to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of like the odd man out kind of thing. So like my sister would teach my brother how to play piano, and I was like, but what about me? But I was like 6 years difference from my sister, so it's, you know, just he was in an appropriate age range, so it kind of was like, okay.
Sure.
So I ended up trying to like pick it up so I could kind of like, you know, be closer to them, you know,
Sure.
scenario.
Yeah, I get you.
And so I
Didn't
was like,
work.
okay, so
I'm just
I
kidding.
learned by myself, you know, and I kind of hear things and I just start playing it on the piano. So it's been since I was like, you know, I could get onto the piano to, you know, just start playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just more like an activity I do more so in high school, I guess. Because
Like
like
a
you go through all
hobby?
those feelings.
Oh, okay.
You go through
Yeah,
all
your
the
feelings,
and
all the
everything.
feels.
And you know, you go through all the emotions, and I was just like, well, I don't know what I'm feeling, you know, because you're like, oh, what are you feeling, you know?
I could tell you,
So
I'd be like, I'm hungry. And that's what I
yeah,
feel.
that too, you know. But I was like, okay, I go onto the piano. It was like, we have it in the living room, so it's like literally a piano and like, you know, couches here, right? And that's basically it. So, we could do was like, I'd turn off the lights, you know?
Sure.
And just kind of play the piano in the dark, you know? And I was just like, this is like my sanctuary right now, so just like leave me alone, you know, and just like let me play the piano. And so I ended up doing piano just by hearing it,
Yeah, by
and
ear.
then kind of and playing it. And then I started like going, oh, I should try to learn correctly, right?
Sure.
And so I ended up learning like things on YouTube, you know, that's the correct way to do it.
That's pretty good.
I know it is. And then also in high school, right? I wanted to do dance lessons, okay? Like, that was like my #1 objective in high school, okay? That was
Okay.
like, yes, I want to learn dance. So
How'd that go?
I tried for that elective, right? I tried for the elective. And unfortunately, the class was full. Okay.
Oh.
So, or not, sorry, not full. Okay, there was nobody going for that particular class. So they were like, okay, we can't like,
Have a class.
put you in this class. Yeah. So all of a sudden they're like, the only thing available is like, it was music history with handbells. And I was like, okay, I
What?
guess. Like, okay, I'm musically inclined. I could do this, you know? So I went into it, and that's where I started learning how to like, all the
Sure.
actually reading music, And so I was like, if you ever give me something, I'd have to like look at my old notes from high school, to try to
Sure,
be
I
able to
got
read
you.
it, right?
Here. Right here.
No,
Let's
no.
see. Read.
Yep.
That's what I have to play tomorrow. I haven't even looked at it yet, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so it was just something where, like, okay, then I got to learn how to do handbells, which is pretty funny because
It's more
the
complicated
people
than
in
you
my
think.
class, people in my class were also thrown in as rejects, basically, right? Like,
You're the reject squad.
yeah. So none of them were really musically inclined. Nobody really actually was in this class because they wanted to. It was kind of like because they had no other
Forced.
choice.
Yeah.
So you had such a bad crew, not knowing how to like time it well, And I was just like the one going in the corner, like I got my note, I'm good. Like
Yeah.
But
That's
because
funny.
handbells is something where you have like one note.
One note,
on
yeah.
each bell. So and you could do multiple ones. I've seen like girls do like 7 or 8 bells, and it's
Sure.
like a crazy onslaught. But my class wasn't that great, So
I couldn't
but
keep up
then-
with you. That's all it was.
Yeah, and when I did that, I ended up doing because I liked my teacher so much. She had like a choir class as well, so she then I ended up doing choir through that and learned more music. So it was a very interesting ride, to learn music and kind of put it like to every feeling I felt throughout the years, and then just kind of like sit in a corner and compose, and then just go like, oh, I was feeling that, and then it was just interesting. Like if I were any kind of like, broken heart situation,
Must write music. Time to write my reject song and go viral.
Yeah. And it was just something that like my family could tell I was in a funk, you know what I mean? Because it was just like, that song is so depressing. What's going on? But
She must be going through the feels again. It's the 3rd time this week. It must be really rough. Those poor souls, they're like, I remember this one. This must be the sequel.
Yeah,
I've heard that motif somewhere before. Must be the same guy, obviously. It's still the same idea.
Yeah, that's true.
Then they hear a new theme. Oh, who's this guy?
I know, who's this guy? It sounds happy. What's going on here?
Wow. Oh, now she remixed it into a sad version.
Yeah, but it was just interesting because throughout all that, it's like you realize when you compose music is that when you do it, you can play it over and over again, which makes you relive the memories all over and over again.
Did you
which
like
is
that?
horrifying.
Oh.
Like, no.
Like, why am I doing this to myself?
Exactly. So it's like, yes, I'm putting it out there, but at the same time, my music isn't really entertaining, in my opinion, to people, but it was a very cornerstone for me to process how I was feeling.
It was a core memory.
Yeah, it is like I can remember all the feelings entitled with that. So it's just really like, yeah, for normal people hearing it, it's not that much for them. But if I tell them a story about it, all of a sudden they're like,
Sure. I mean, that's fair.
Oh
It's
my God.
definitely one way for you to remember it, so I get it. So then you just continue to this day composing?
Yeah, but I don't write anything down, but I use a lot of voice memos.
Darn.
And
I'm gonna start. I gotta start reading some of your manuscripts and start playing them. Like this one is from Ashisa, dated from I don't know when to when, titled
Yeah, I know.
whatever.
I know. I'm really bad at it's so funny because my family gets used to my music, and they're like, oh, they just kind of like hear it in the background and they know that tune, they start humming it.
Sure.
And I was like, hey,
That's
you know
actually-
it.
I recognize that one. Shout out to the homies. That's funny.
So yeah.
Well, we've been going for quite a while. Mostly my fault. But it's because you asked. So I don't want to hold you over. We already started mad late compared to when we were supposed
I know,
to.
man. Oh
you
my
got a stream
my
you got to
11
get
o'clock
to.
stream is gonna be 15 minutes from now. Well, actually, like 19 minutes.
Yeah, something like
Oh
that.
my
So
God.
I don't want to hold your time and make you late to your own stream, but appreciate you once again, Ashisa. You was a real one. Maybe we'll have a part 3 and actually get through more than 2 questions next time. Because clearly we can't get past 2 questions each stream. We get to like 2 or 3 and then just get hard stuck and just whew. But that's the beauty of the C-Zone and any podcast, really. Just, go on a rant about whatever. Thanks everyone for watching. You're all appreciated. Thanks again, Ashisa, for some reason sticking through it with me. And I don't know why you came back, and well, maybe we'll get a part 3 for you to once again subject yourself to this torment, and for me to subject myself to having to send you questions for a 3rd time in a row. And be like, all right, here's your questions again, and
here's your prompt, please.
And it's gonna be me copy pasting the same prompt except the parts that we answered already, and maybe we'll have like 1 or 2 new questions. Part 91. Well, let's get through the next 88, and then we'll get there. For those of you watching in the future, like YouTube, for example, we appreciate you as well. Leave a comment, a like. And thanks everyone who showed up here live. It's always appreciated. I know this is a great time for me. I hope it is a great time for Ashisa. I'm not gonna say it is, maybe not. And I hope it's a great time for you all. I know it's a different stream, but it's definitely a fun stream. So tomorrow I'm not streaming, I'm working. It's not because I don't want to, I'm just working. So yeah.
Wait, you don't want to work?
No, I do want to work. I want to get paid, but I can't stream because I'm working. Yeah, catch it on the stream on YouTube if you want to watch it, Melvin. If not, no worries. But yeah, it'll be on my YouTube. Follow Ashisa if you haven't already. If you're on YouTube, the links will be below. If you're on stream, you can just follow her here if you haven't already. Great Fire Emblem streamer. Same old jokes. She's gonna be streaming in like 15 minutes. So if you want to catch her stream of what are you streaming? Smash. Yeah, if you want to watch her play Smash, you can go right over there.
Why are they watching me play Smash? That was earlier today.
I don't know. I did see that earlier. It confused me as well. But yeah, if you want to catch Ashisa streaming in like 15 minutes, you can go over there. Otherwise, hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year if I don't see you in the next year for some reason. And peace out, everyone. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. Bye.